Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Lesser Known Classics. This is episode number 2859, double shot number 2753. By the way, this will be the last one I have ready to go right now because with this I'm caught up today with all my Comic Corners. So, we're discussing Excalibur, drawing the sword, forging the sword, and the Northstar miniseries. The trade itself collects for Excalibur. It's the first 4 issues of Excalibur Volume 3, written by the co-creator of Excalibur, Chris Claremont. This, of course, is not the British superhero team. This is basically... You see, this picks up right where the end of Planet X... This is basically the end of, those of you remember the ending of Planet X, where, the body of Magneto is dropped in Genosha, and Xavier's up behind in Genosha. So then, of course, as soon as this comic opens up, by the way, he had a comic written by Roca. As soon as it's opened up, Xavier's suit that he wore changed immediately to basically a different outfit. Oh yeah, and it's revealed that Magneto is in fact alive and well. Yes, this is Claremont immediately retconning basically where it's a very confusing retcon where it's like, oh, we have Zorn, who's doing Magneto, except it was actually Zorn posed as Magneto. Yeah, it was really, really weird of how the heck this is accomplished. And so, there's actually weapons inside the coffin, so he drags it to... By the way, we're in Genosha. That's what this book is set. And, of course, we also have another famous character who's created by Stanley Jack Kirby, aside from Magneto and Xavier here. Where Unit is touchables in this book. Yes. Also, it's real that Snitch is in this book too. Apparently he's kept in a capsule for some reason. So, those of you curious though, you read this book like, okay, so why is Genosha in ruins? If you didn't read the opening story arc of New X-Men, let me explain. Cassandra Genoa convinced one of the Trask siblings, or the Trask family, to build a Tri-Sentinel to destroy Genosha, killing 16 million mutants. Well, and they remain dead for almost 20 years. Actually, more like 23 years these people remain dead for. 23 years. That was until the final issue of the Krakoa book. They undid this whole entire controversy by revealing all the dead mutants. No mention of Kitty Pryde's father because he was revealed to have actually died during this whole thing. So yeah, so Xavier is staying at Magneto's. Looks like it ruins of his house partially. So yeah, they're in Genosha. There's basically a monument Magneto here, and the whole thing is basically them kind of putting together like a new country, kind of, when it comes to Genosha. That's kind of what goes on here, and this kind of is the Excalibur cabinet. The team itself is not necessarily called Excalibur. That's what the book is called. Yes. Now, despite the cover here, which clearly has like Wolverine, Cyclops, various members of the X-Men, only Magneto and Xavier in this book. Also, we see Mora, where she's basically a ghost. We also, the first appearance of Freak Show, Eunice's gang. Yeah, Eunice he has a gang that appears in this book here. And they're here for most of this book's run until issue 9. It is also a miniseries discussing later. Yes. By the way, Aaron Lepsey is the artist of this book. We also have first appearance of a character named Hub. Yes, a character who would be integral to this book. There's actually a miniseries that relates to that basically is sort of a continuation of this. I'll discuss that later on. So the name of Excalibur is first formed in issue number 2, and they're pretty much here for the entire book. They didn't pop up for a couple of issues of Mystique, but yeah. So the members are Professor Xavier, Magneto, Callisto, Rogue, and Freakshow and Wicked. Wicked, just a character makes spirits. Yeah, and she's a fairly new character. Yeah. So, yeah, Callisto, why is she in this book? Because she's sent here by unofficially by Storm, but she's actually screwed for the arena. You're thinking, the arena? What the heck is that? Also, she's got octopus arms. You're thinking, why in the world does she have that? Secondary mutation. Oh, by the way, after M Day, she gets her arms restored perfectly normal. Yeah, as for the reason why she had the octopus arms, it's kind of unknown exactly what was the reason for this. Yeah, the arena stuff, that was from the pages of Extreme X, another Chris Claremont book. Yeah, so the team forms issue number 2, and Will's first appearance of a new character named Purge. Because, like, the whole thing in this book is rebuilding the country. And then, like, at one point, Freak Show had Unis inside of them, and then, oh yeah, and also, we get the 4 Mega Sentinel joining the group. Yep. Yes, indeed. Yeah, she actually joins, the organization. She joins basically Excalibur. Which is interesting. Yep. And also joined by Sola Kaniska. Yeah. I thought this was basically Skin. No, this is a completely new character. Those of you curious, who the heck is this guy? He's from another book Chris Claremont wrote, known as Metallics. You're all thinking, like, what the heck is that? What kind of book is this? It's a Kitty Pryde miniseries, from what I can tell. Yeah, it's basically Kitty Pryde in college. That is literally what this book is. So, Claremont brought in another character he created. It seems like this book is filled with characters he created mostly himself. Callisto definitely is the character he created. He did not create Professor Xavier Magneto. That was Stan Lee and Jack the King Kirby. Along with Toad is in this book too. Eunice. Toad in Waiting. And by the way, issue 4 is also the cover of the trade for this one. Yes, and a little fun fact about the trade that this actually comes from. That this trade itself. Excuse me. This was a trade, the only trade of this whole series my local library ever had. They never had the next 2 volumes. Nope, never did. Do not know the reason for that. Because I remember getting the trade over 10 years ago, and I thought it was a really good book. I kind of wish my local library got the hands of their books. What happened to the trade? They sold it. Yep. Over the years, certain trades they would keep in the system, but over time they would sell books. Did I buy these books? I would think I would want to, but I didn't have the money. The only thing I ever bought from the library was actually a whole run of X-Men Volume 2. Well, I bought pretty much almost the first 100 issues of that book. And I got it for like $0.25 a piece. Like, I just bought like every single issue of this book. Starting with issue like 2, because I had issue 1. Uh, Actually, I had issue 2. I didn't have issue 1. I bought every single issue for like a quarter a piece. And the guy that referenced that basically was selling them, so I just bought from him. I bought like a whole bunch of comics from him. I bought like about $4 or $5 for comics every time. And he appreciates the fact I bought them. Where are they? They are okay. If you're curious, what happened to those books? If you're curious where they are, they're in boxes in my attic over there. That's where they are. Yes, a lot of the comics I've collected over the years are probably in my attic up there, or they're probably in. There's a couple boxes in my closet. That's probably where they are. But I did own one point. But the trade, but this first trade, nope, never bought this one. Yeah. So for the opening issues of Excalibur Volume 3, it's really good. It has like I mentioned, it has nothing to do with the original Excalibur. This is just an in-name only volume of Excalibur. Now, if Marvel ever does a restoration of the triple edition numbering for this book, or at least ever bring it back, would they include this product numbering? I think they would, because it's called Excalibur and was written by Chris Claremont, despite the fact it didn't feature the traditional Excalibur. But good book. Give it a 9 out of 10. Next up we have is the Northstar miniseries. Yes. It's only 4 issues. It kind of is in a way basically what Northstar was up to, like right after the Off-Light series got canceled at issue 130. Written by Simon Furman, the guy who was the final writer of Alpha Flight. This is pretty much Northstar's book. Yeah, it's written by him with Dario Corso Jr. on the artwork. Mostly put it just basically Northstar doing his own thing. Excuse me, do they yeah, basically you have like yeah, he ends up basically buying stuff from people, like something's shocking. So he just buys flowers, and he buys his purse for somebody. I think it's a purse. Yeah, he buys his bag for somebody, and then he just stuffs the flowers and just trying to embarrass him. And of course, either he's not a big fan of press, so he's very mobile by himself. Oh, by the way, in case you're curious, despite the fact he did out himself as gay in issue 106, yes, that was something that, like I mentioned before frequently, that was something John Byrne wanted to do, but there was a rule. I've never talked to Jim Shooter about this, because Jim Shooter had this rule at Marvel about no gays at Marvel, and that's why he couldn't do it at the time, so he made him to a fairy. But then I think it was Lobdell basically out him as gay. Which, when I heard it was of the remaining final couple years of the book, it was the highest selling book. It's like freaking crazy. And it wasn't controversial. The only thing was controversial about Northstar was basically when he got married. In issue 51 of Astonishing X-Men Volume 3. So, by the way, Northstar's powers is that he's a speedster and he can fly. Yes, so it's mostly him basically on his own, doing his own thing. Basically going on a series of adventures of this whole miniseries. In case you're curious though, who do you see him fighting throughout this miniseries? He fights basically Department X and Weapon Prime. Weapon Prime, which are characters from X-Force. Yep, they appear in this book, led by Kane. Yeah, and they're here for the first 3 issues of this book, and that's pretty much it. And also, one of the villains of the book is General Clarkey, who is a character from toward the end of basically Alpha Flight, and he's back here just for the opening issue. And after this, he's seen Alpha Flight in the beginning, which is negative number 1, and then he was seeing Alpha Flight Volume 2, and that was it for him. It's mostly put him fighting Department K, this whole mini series. It's a branch like Department H, and yeah, this is basically they're here just for its opening issue, and we also get first appearance of Max Bellenhauser, who's a old friend of Northstar, who he's just here for issues 1 and 3, and that was it for him. It was almost like basically it's like the was trying to establish a cast for him. We also get experience by Guardian issue 2. Arcade's book too. Yep. I gotta admit, this actual book was a lot of fun. And then we have the employees of Arcade. Yep, and they're pretty much basically like the next villains after they were like the only group of villains that he fought in this miniseries. Oh yeah, and by the way, they were hired by Cameron Howard's hired by Carl Kedger, who basically didn't like the fact because the whole thing of this miniseries, it seems as though like, oh, there's like one person who didn't like the fact he outed himself as gay, and it's like this book was just pure jealousy on one guy's part. The fact he didn't like the fact that a superhero outed himself as gay. Also, his new character on the strike, who actually became part of Weapon Prime. Yeah, he appears throughout a lot of this miniseries, but as soon as the miniseries wraps up, he just stops appearing after this. Yeah, he's never seen again after this. Nope, not really. But the miniseries actually is really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those of you curious, like, what did he do after this miniseries wrapped up? Well, the very next thing he would do is, well, Alpha Flight Volume 2. Which, of course, that's next. Alpha Flight Volume 2. That is the next thing to do here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, by the way, that first issue was released in June 1997, roughly 3 years later. So, after this final issue, Nick appeared in X Factor, and then he appeared in this very book, in Alpha Flight. So his next appearance was basically like 2 years later. Yep, 2 years later, and then he appeared in Alpha Flight, just like the following year. Yeah, but Alpha Flight will be definitely next thing I'll cover. Alpha Flight Volume 2, that is. Yep, definitely. Yep. That's going to be quite interesting, given the fact that this book basically didn't last as long as Volume 1. So I got 2 rounds this one, and then Volume 3 is like 2 rounds as well, because it's 2 trades. I just collect that one. 4 is 1 round, because it's just mini-series, and it's a trade. Same thing with Volume 5, but we'll find when we get to it. I'm going to give basically the Northstar mini-series a 9 out of 10, because I thought the book was really good. Yep, so yeah, that's a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do another like button. I thought I'd have time to do One Piece, but I'm going to call it a night. I'm basically just going ahead and do one more video here, and it's going to be Black Clover. That'll be next. And I'll probably worry about One Piece tomorrow, because it's only just one anime. Yep. But until the next video, bye.